Mark Stoops is reportedly on his way out of Lexington. Pete Thamel tweeting this out just a few minutes ago. Sources: Kentucky is expected to fire Coach Mark Stoops, with the process set to formally play out tomorrow, a.k.a. that being on Monday. This was one we were not sure we were going to get, but after a disappointing finish to this season, after Kentucky, Bear really surged, right? They looked like a team that was completely dead early in the season. Obviously made a late run, got some big wins, but you fall late in the season, you get throttled by your rival by a final score of 41-0.
Disgusting game
against Louisville. A terrible game. The Mark Stoops era, it appears, we'll just call it, Bear, it is coming to an end in Lexington. Just really quickly for context, Mark Stoops went 62-80 in his tenure at Lexington, 25-68 in SEC play. But that does not tell the full story here, because a run from 2016 to 2023, Kentucky went to 8 straight bowl games. They won 10 games in 2018. They were a model of consistency for a while, won 8 games in 2019. And this guy took over a program. They went 2-10 in that first season, started making bowl games, like I said, 2016 to 2023. They won 4 straight bowl games, by the way, the Citrus, the Belk, the Gator, and the Citrus again. But you saw some cracks in the armor, Bear, in 2024, where you go 4-8. Then this year, you go 5-7. And I remember talking about it last year. Last year felt like such a big trajectory year for Kentucky football, where you were coming off back-to-back 7-6s. You're kind of like, hey, what direction is the program going? Have we plateaued? Like, is this the peak under Mark Stoops? And sure enough, it starts to fall apart. You missed at quarterback a couple times with some of these transfer portal guys. You saw that sort of play out. This year, what we got to know Kentucky is the big blue wall and physicality and toughness. I feel like the last couple years, they got kind of soft up front. Like, you just didn't have that same physicality, that nastiness, that toughness when you had guys like Benny Snell at the running back position, like guys like that really set the tone for you on both sides of the football. Mark Stoops out at Kentucky. Bear, your initial reaction to the news?
The timing had come to a standstill. And I thought that really what it was, yeah, you had 2 very good wins. You were back on track. You mollywop Florida. You end up firing. You quite literally are the reason why Hugh Freeze is out of a job at Auburn. Now, it was already, you were going to get fired probably, but still, you ended the tenure. You're gaining momentum. You're having some steam. You feel like that you can be bowl eligible. You can save your job. You get embarrassed by Vanderbilt, which never happens. Quite literally, it was the performance of a lifetime from Diego Pavia. And then you lose 41-0, where you had 2 third-down conversions, 10 first downs, 100 passing yards, 140 total yards of offense, and you go into the press conference afterwards knowing that you're not going to be bowl eligible, knowing that it's back-to-back losing seasons, and you say, I'm not stepping down. You're kind of sucking me. Yep, I'm not. You got to fire me. Get me out of here. You're laughing. You're laughing at how this entire thing is panning on out. If that is not the ultimate sign, it's best for us to part ways, because we're in such this toxic relationship, and we really have been since you initially signed on to be the head coach at Texas A&M. You signed on to be the next guy at A&M. And then, thankfully, Billy Lucci and the boys were able to go ahead and put together on the message boards, hell no, we're not doing that. And you land a coach that now is taking you to the college football playoff. It was abundant that you were on borrowed time. But the attitude and the way that you went about it, like, you were handcuffing them. You were saying, listen, I'm in charge. You gave me this contract. Give me my money and I'll walk. And so they said, you know what? We got to give him the money. And you know how the contract goes. He's going to be owed over $30 million in the next 60 days. That's going to be a way for them to be able to get on out of this deal. And then they got to start fresh. But like, at some point, you have to remind yourself, Chris, that this is a team that gave out such a heinous contract that nobody has ever gotten before. Like, it was the best contract in college football. And all they asked you to do at Kentucky, get us to bowl games. Get us to the point of where we were going to be, going 7-5. Just get us there. And it was a great deal. And he couldn't even do that right. Timing had to reach its end. Unlike Lane Kiffin, I do think that we have to remember Kentucky's era underneath Mark Stoops as somewhat of a promising one. He's the all-time winningest coach. He was the longest tenured coach in the SEC over the last 20 years outside of Nick Saban at Alabama. And he was able to turn the corner where you went to 8 bowl games and you were ranked and you had 2 10-win seasons. There was a lot of good with Mark Stoops, but everything eventually reached its end. And for Mitch Barnhart, this was probably the deciding factor. The way that you acted in the comments, the way you acted in the press conference yesterday, and to lose those 2 games in such disastrous fashion, you knew the timing was up. And the bottom line is that, what were you going to do? Not pay him $30 million to kick the can down the road to where you go 3-9 next year, and then pay him $26 million, and then say, oh, well, you know what? We got to kick the can down the road another year. What are you going to owe him then? $21 million. So you're still owing him a lot of money. You might as well just rip the Band-Aid off. Here's where I'm at, though, when it comes to this deal. Mitch Barnhart is going to face a lot of scrutiny, and he may not be the athletic director much longer at Kentucky. Because do you know who else has this addendum in their contract? One guy. Jimbo Fisher had the addendum in his contract. The single worst contract ever given out in college football. What happened to Ross Bjork when they decided to make that decision? They told him, better find a new job. So he went to Ohio State. And what happened was Scott Woodward was flirting with the idea of bringing Jimbo Fisher to make Ross Bjork sign that contract. He was shown the door at LSU. So that's just kind of where we are. Now the question turns to, who are the candidates? Who are the names that we can actually look at that we feel are going to bring Kentucky into a new era of college football?
Yeah, and I want to say this too, Bear. I think that just at some point things run their course. And like you said, he had been the longest tenured coach there. And just, yeah, at some point the message becomes stale and you never just make change for the sake of it. But when results start to slip and we're in a place in college football, and especially too, like if you're in year 1 and year 2 and it's rough, you're going to get year 3. Certainly. But like when you're in what was he in year 13? I think this was year 13.
13 or 14.
Yeah, 13 or 14. When you're that deep in your tenure and you start getting back-to-backs, 4 and 8s, 5 and 7s, whatever, and the trajectory starts to go down, and you can no longer even sell your message, sell the program. That's when you got to make a change. I mean, but you think of what he did at Kentucky. You already just mentioned it, Bear. 2 10-win seasons. He had an 8-win season as well. A couple, you mix a bunch of 7-win seasons. I got to be honest with you. I don't know that what Mark Stoops did at Kentucky will ever be matched. Yeah. Because I think, here's the thing, Cole. Think of how much success Mark Stoops had at Kentucky. And people will scoff at that. Again, they had a lot of success there. They did. And I don't feel like the perception of Kentucky football has changed hardly at all. Like, I feel like Kentucky is going to go back to being Kentucky, in my personal opinion. Right. I mean, I just think about it. When he took over, they went 2-10 their first year. They were awful. I mean, Kentucky and Vandy used to be looked at in the conference, as like, this is a kick-in. This is a glorified scrimmage. We're probably going to be a 3 or 4 touchdown favorite. Like, no big deal. And that's not to say that there wasn't any point in history where Kentucky or Vandy or others, specifically sticking with Kentucky,
we're playing to Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Right. I mean, they've given teams issues. I'm not saying they haven't had good teams, but like Kentucky was what it was. Like, you looked at them as like, that should be a win on our schedule. And Kentucky Vandy was typically for them to get their 1 SEC win. Maybe they get 2 and they upset somebody. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Even with these 10-win seasons, 8-win season, bunch of 7s, like I don't really view Kentucky as like, man, this is a great job. Like you could argue this is the hardest job in the conference. It's right there with Arkansas. It's right there with Mississippi State. It's right there with a South Carolina. But like I'd probably put Kentucky – I'd probably say it's the most difficult job in the conference because here's the problem. Dude, you're second fiddle to basketball.
Yep.
Like, you're always going to be second fiddle to basketball. We all recall when Mark Stoops and John Calipari were butting heads. You ain't going to come in there and overtake Mark Pope and overtake the basketball program. They are a basketball school.
Keep in mind that also softball has been to the College World Series. Baseball has been to the College World Series. They have Olympic athletes in swimming and in track and field and also in the gymnastics program. Women's basketball has gotten to a playoff appearance. Gotten to the tournament several times. It's like you're 4th, maybe, if not 3rd, or if best 2nd. That's where you are.
With that being said, Do I think it's a job somebody should take a chance on? Hey, you're still in the SEC. Like, yeah, for sure. For sure. Come cut your teeth in the SEC. But hey, I don't know. I don't know where they go. I don't know what I would imagine this is one you probably have to go out, hire a coordinator, try to find some, up and coming young coach. I don't know exactly, again, who that's going to be. I have no clue who that's going to be honest with you right now. But
I'll have a hot board video out tomorrow at some point, so we'll go through that. I'll tell you 3 names that I'm looking at right now. Number 1 is Will Stein at Oregon. I'm automatically going for him. He's a native of Kentucky. He played at Louisville, but he is a native of Kentucky. His offense has been so dynamic at every single stop that he's been to, including his last 2 with UTSA and then Oregon. He came on in and replaced a really promising guy in Kenny Dillingham and didn't miss a beat. They went 13-0 last season. Dante Moore comes on in, really good quarterback play. You got a guy in Cutter Boley that you think could be your future at the position. Go ahead and develop him. Number 2, I call Brian Hartline. According to reports, Brian Hartline at Ohio State is interested in becoming a head coach. He's probably not going to get the Penn State job. So I think that you have to go ahead and convey yourself and say, would you take Kentucky? Turn this program into a very prolific offense to where we can believe that in a few years, you aren't going to be here much longer, but we can get a good foundation in place and believe that times have changed. We know that you're going to leave us. You view us as a destination job, but you kept your teeth in the SEC. And the third name is Dan Mullen. The reason I say Dan Mullen is because the man wins. The man simply just wins. He does. But the problem that he hated was he didn't like to recruit. And at a place like Florida, recruiting is your backbone. Recruiting is your bloodlines. And it's not going to fly that you are a coach that does not believe in recruiting 24/7 and trust in the transfer portal. You know where that does happen? Kentucky. They're not going to care where your recruiting numbers are. They want to see you win. And you can continuously win in the portal. You can continuously win with development of talent. And they'll take 8-4 and they'll run like it's the freaking Super Bowl. And Dan Mullen can get you to 8-4. Dan Mullen's a damn good coach. Dan Mullen is a coach that I think would absolutely come on in and be able to strengthen this roster. Those would be my top 3 names.
You ain't got to sell me on Dan Mullen very much, Cole. I'm a Dan Mullen guy, so would love to see him back in the SEC. But Mark Stoops is out. Guys, we'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments on it. Right move, wrong move. It was time. It was time. I think it was just time. It was a nice story late in the season. Thought maybe Mark Stoops might have found a way back, but this might be for the best, to be honest with you. Rip the Band-Aid off, get it over with. A new era of Kentucky football is on deck.